Welcome to the Nerd Powwow. Follow us on YouTube where we upload new videos every Friday, or check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Spoiler warning, we do deep dives on characters, storylines, and theory crafting. With that said, Moribane, what are we going to talk about today?
I think today we're going to kind of open things up a little bit and just talk about our favorite gaming experiences, be they video games, board games, D&D, you name it. Just kind of have a good powwow about memorable moments in gaming and our individual lives and share them with each other to just be something fun to talk about between the three of us. So I think that's where we're going to go today. I guess I'll just start off. Let's talk about the most painful gaming experience that I've ever had. So, the original Ghosts and Ghouls, Ghosts and Goblins for the Nintendo. The game's fantastic, but I don't know if you've ever played it, but you have to play through it twice. You know, it's that typical thing. There are no save points. They don't exist. There's no saving. So we had left the Nintendo on for weeks. I think that little wall wart thing was like red hot. I mean, it had been plugged in so long you had to be careful not to touch the plug. You know, the wall wart.
The transformer that goes on the wall.
The transformer,
before everything was inside the system, right?
Yeah,
the wall
thing was
warts.
like red. Yeah, I just call them wall warts because nothing fits into them. But that thing was like hot. You had to be careful. I was worried about burning the house down. It was so hot. But we left that thing on for my friend Danny and I were playing. We would take turns. Death. You know, if I died, he would go on. Blah blah blah. So we left it on for weeks. I mean, it had to be 2 or 3 weeks that the Nintendo was just sitting there on, and we would carefully pull it out onto the floor next to us so we could play. Well, we're back there playing one day, and we were at his house, and his dog gets the zoomies. The dog starts running around, and it runs across the power cords and pulls at the power cord. And we were so close. So close.
You hate to see it.
You do. And it was like, I am an animal lover. I prefer animals to people. I think they're way better. But that
was a tough day for animal loving.
It was a tough day. It was a tough day to be an animal lover because, I mean, the dog didn't know what it did, but I'm just like, calm. Like, that might have been my first yoga moment. I was only like 10 years old. Like, needed to find my inner calm. But yeah, so that was a gaming moment that I'll never forget. But it was I can laugh about it now because the tears have stopped flowing after that many years.
The Ghoul and Ghost games, those games were so tough. That Super Ghouls and Ghosts for the Super Nintendo, I used to play the crap out of that game. But I get it, keeping that system on and just keeping it alive so you can get through. I did that with Cool Borders too when I got that game for the original PlayStation. My parents got me a memory card, and they wanted to hold the memory card until my birthday to give that to me for my birthday. So I was like, well, I guess I just have to keep the PlayStation on 24/7.
Oh, good old memory card.
I played a lot of Cool Borders that month.
That reminds me of the memory card for I believe it was the Dreamcast, where weren't they huge and they plugged into the controller?
Yeah, but they had that little digital readout.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Things are awesome.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved the Dreamcast, and I loved their video cards, the readout. I loved those things.
Marvel vs. Capcom on the Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah. A lot of memories with that game.
Right, radio.
Oh, man, I was so disappointed you got rid of your Dreamcast, buddy.
Yeah. Well, the lid quit closing. It wouldn't close anymore. So there was nothing I could do.
Fair enough.
That's a real problem. Mine did the same thing. I've heard a lot of people saying that. It's the little clip is just not designed to last, 20 years? however old the Dreamcast was.
You know, but the Nintendo's able to survive staying on for weeks at a time.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So, and I did a lot with my Sega Genesis, too. Just left it on.
You know, I have to say, one of my biggest gaming pain memories getting a Sega Game Gear and truly understanding what that battery life meant and how little I would actually be able to use that system as a portable video game system. Because, man, when I got that Game Gear and in 6 hours it sucked those 6-trip AA batteries down, it just ripped the power out of those batteries. Oh, that was such a hog. But
so it all depends what batteries you get. When I bought my Sega Game Gear, I popped the batteries right in and started playing. 15 minutes, it was dead.
Yep.
15 minutes.
You got to get them copper tops. You got to get the you got to get those Energizer batteries, man.
Or you just sit next to an outlet and just keep it plugged in.
Did you guys have like little blocks of rechargeable batteries where you had just like 5 blocks that you just plug in different places in the house to charge everything?
Sure did.
My gosh.
I hate it. I'm so glad we're beyond the rechargeable batteries garbage. Ugh, so terrible.
That's fair.
I hated that sheer amount of money I've dumped in batteries alone.
I can only imagine.
And then they ruin chargers. Some of the batteries are garbage. You leave them in the charger for too long and they would erupt. You get those eruption matter, and I'm like, I don't own it. Outside of like some AA's and AAA's for remote controls and that type of thing, mess with them anymore. Everything's the rechargeable quality built into the devices themselves are so superior than they used to be. So you don't need you worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the power demands on a lot of the stuff, it's a lot more efficient. So, yep,
for sure.
Oh man!
Oh, the memories.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, memories and memory cards.
The one thing I know you guys owned was the Game Boy. I never owned a Game Boy. Is that the same deal? Really? Batteries? Would it die pretty darn quick?
The Game Boy wasn't that bad on batteries. The Game Gear was vicious, but
yes, it was.
Game Boy, you got a lot of life out of it. And if you had the original Game Boy, it took 3 AA's. Those puppies would last you a long time. It took 4 AA's. I have this incorrect because one of the batteries is the sound battery, which I would never use. I'd just use the 3 batteries for it.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
Yeah, one of the original Game Boy's batteries is only for volume. So you can take that out and it still works perfectly fine.
Okay.
You can save yourself a battery. And hey, when you use that all the other 3 batteries up, if you were using that one, it'd still be mostly charged because it's just audio.
That's kind of crazy.
Yep.
I'm thinking about the mechanics inside. I can just see the little yellow audio cable just goes to the battery in there. Little RCA cable on the inside.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yep. Yeah, so the Game Boy wasn't too bad on batteries at all, but it also was in black and white, so
Did the color one get a little more demanding?
It actually got a little bit less. I think the technology got a little bit better. With the with those systems, and then you only had to use 2 AA batteries with the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, Game Gear for Sega, that was 6 AA batteries.
Wow.
I never had a Game Gear. I didn't have that at all.
Yeah, I still have mine, and it still works. It eats batteries.
We were talking about
Go ahead.
So we were talking about the durability of these systems, right? Nintendo has a Nintendo Game Boy that survived an atomic blast. That is still powered on and running Tetris.
From the nuclear blast? No, I'm just kidding.
But that thing has been running consistently, just having Tetris on the screen, no problems, and that thing survived a huge explosion. So crazy stuff. And think about the durability about systems now, man.
It's a different creature. I have the is it the Game Boy XL? I need to make sure. No. What was the Game Boy right before the DS? SP. The SP. Yeah. I still have mine, and that's a fantastic. It's folded up. You had the controller on the bottom, you had the screen up top. That thing works perfectly well. It's I never have a problem with it, but it was a very short-lived system.
Yeah,
because
it was a pretty good little system. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it was. I think that the DS just came out pretty quick and kind of squashed it because it just they just brought it out a little fast. I don't think there was anything wrong with the SP that needed replaced, but it had the controller on the bottom, and the screen just sat up there in front of you, just folded almost like the Samsung Fold.
Yeah, my only problem with that is it was a little blocky. It's a little.
It's just a little square.
But yeah. But other than that, it was perfect. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good system, but it would play. That one would play all the other Game Boy games.
Yeah.
You could plug the other Game Boy games into it, so it was backwards compatible. It was really nice.
That level of backwards compatibility.
Yeah. So I still have it. It still works. Still takes a charge.
Yep.
Thing works like a charm, so I can always play. Because I used to have the attachment that went on the bottom of the GameCube that you could plug in GameCube games on the GameCube. You could play any GameCube game or SP game on the GameCube. So it was really nice. I'm actually kicking myself for ever getting rid of that. I shouldn't have gotten. It was a couple of years ago. The game systems, the older game systems, have been sitting in a box for a while, and I just wanted to give them somebody who would use them or whatever. Now that was also when kids were living at home and stuff like that. Now I have my space here to do whatever, and so I'm actually trying to recollect older systems and put them in the console area over there. So we'll see how it goes. But some of that stuff I don't think I'm gonna be able to replace. I can't imagine getting a hold of one of those under decks for a GameCube again, or not paying an arm and a leg for it at least.
Yeah.
So I don't want to pay an arm and a leg for something for nostalgia. I don't know how much I'd actually play it. I'm such a PC gamer now. I don't know how much I would actually go back and play. I just kind of want to have it there as maybe let's get a non-working one.
Nostalgia thing,
exactly.
Well, they made one for the Super Nintendo also, where it was a cartridge that went in the Super Nintendo you could play Game Boy games on.
Really? I never saw that.
Yeah.
That's kind of sweet. Yeah, I was not aware of that. Huh. Interesting.
I always enjoyed the Game Genie. And then what was Sega Genesis version of the Game Genie?
The Game Shark. And then everything became Game Shark, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those were all third-party add-ons. So those weren't made by the companies.
And there was one Sonic game where if you wanted to play Sonic and Knuckles, you had to have two games plugged into each other in the system.
Oh yeah,
for it to work.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a pretty cool system. I remember. You know what? The Game Boy Color came with so many different accessories that you could put on it. I had my Game Boy Color decked out, so it had the back-mounted battery / grip. So it held kind of like a PlayStation controller, but that also stored like battery life, so you could keep extra battery, right? And it was rechargeable. I had a magnifying glass on the front of it that pop the screen out like this.
Okay.
I had one of the side lights if I ever didn't want to use the magnifying glass that would plug into the side, and it's just a little curly Q stem with a small LED on top that just shines on the LCD screen. I had a little attachment that goes over the buttons to make it make the D-pad into a joystick. All these great little attachments. They had a speaker attachment for it. They did so many cool things with the Game Boy Color. As far as you could make this little Frankenstein's monster of a portable gaming system.
That's great. That's how you become like King Nerd, though. That's pretty impressive.
It's true. Something impressive is somebody using the portable gaming system Virtual Boy as a portable gaming system. Because are you familiar with the Virtual Boy?
I still have mine.
I still have a working Virtual Boy.
That's amazing.
One of the one of the tripod legs I have to prop up because it's got a crack in it. It'll try to kick out, so I got to kind of mangle it. But the unit itself works perfectly fine. I've got Mario Tennis and something else. The
Wario's
two games.
Legs?
I only have like 2 games for it. What's that?
Wario's
Wario.
Legs. Yep.
Yep.
There are only 16 games for that system.
Yeah, I have 2.
It got released, and then within short order, I think it was like a month, the PlayStation 1 came out, and everybody, imagine trying to play a Virtual Boy, like, wireless, like trying to play it as a mobile system. Imagine that. That's how they tried to market that thing.
Yeah, it was that and the I'm sure that what's the anti-seizure med? I'm sure that sale went through the roof because I heard all kinds of people were having that and motion sickness and all kinds
not
of
familiar
stuff.
with the Virtual Boy. The way it works is it's like a little box that you put your head on, kind of like VR goggles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit bigger, a little bit boxier. Doesn't have like a head strap or anything.
It's dead on a tripod.
Yeah, they use parallax from your eyes looking at different angles, and they fire lasers into your eye to create a 3D image. And I swear to God, when I close my eyes, even to this day, I can still see Mario standing with his tennis racket.
I want to see if we can do some kind of mapping of your cornea to see if there's a little Mario. That's great. You know that technology in sci-fi where they scoop out a dead person's eye and cast a light through it to see the last year they saw. They're gonna have a hard time explaining. Yours looks like a screen that has
Mario?
a portion of Mario with like your last memory's got a hyperimposed Mario with a tennis racket.
Was this man's vision sponsored by Nintendo? He has a little watermark at the bottom.
That's so good.
Oh my God!
But yeah, I wish I would have thought about it. I would have dug mine out. It's in the hallway attic area over there. I would have dug it out and brought it up for featuring this episode.
Yeah, right.
But it's you're right. It does look remarkably like a regular VR headset. It's a little bulkier.
Yeah.
It just looks like a prototype of
it sure does.
Today's modern VR headset. That's probably the best thing of it. But yeah, it was. I'm so fortunate because I don't get motion sickness. I've never had motion sickness in my life. I'm actually, I get it. I don't get it so much that I actually get irritated when people do get it because I'm like, come on.
You don't want it.
Come on, there's more fun to be had. Why is your belly getting the rumblies?
I'd have the kids in the car, and they're like, I'm driving like a Mario Andretti because that's how I drive, and they're like, ugh. I'm like, walk it off, tough it out.
You're driving this big Buick with this boat-like suspension, flipping around corners. They're over here getting seasick. My gosh.
Every one of them's green. I'm like, I feel fine.
I'm feeling great. It also helps when you're holding the wheel.
Yeah.
That's true, too, but yeah.
Oh, man. What about arcade games? Wayne, I remember going down to your pizza and playing the crap out of... Well, we had the X-Men game. Didn't they have the Aerosmith arcade game there, too?
They had one of those. There was the Captain America one, too, we played a lot of.
There's that one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. I still remember the red kind of neon, little strip lights that they had at the top there. Kind of made it look a little bit like a strip club instead of a pizza joint, but us kids were happy to pile into the strip club / pizza joint and play our little
we put a lot of quarters in those machines.
Well, I've got a new business idea. Don't touch the dance with your greasy hands, you monsters.
That was good pizza, too. That was really good pizza.
I love video game arcades. I miss arcades. We used to... So, there were 4 major arcades right in Mentor or Lake County, Mentor Willoughby. We had the Great Lakes Mall and Mentor Mall. Both had large arcades. And then there was one in Willow Plaza. And then there was one just down the street in Willoughby. I'm never going to remember the name of that one. It wasn't as good as the other 3, but it was still And I'm not kidding you. I would go in there and spend $50 in quarters
Easily.
So
easily. And just probably the one my uncle and I would go a lot. My uncle's very close in age to me. He's only 14 years older than me, so he would take me out to arcades and stuff all the time. And we would it's Alien Syndrome. I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Alien Syndrome, but it was top down, walk around, kill the aliens. I mean, it was a pretty typical game, but it was beatable. It was a game. I'm old enough to know the transition between video games you just played through, or you played just repetitive kind of things, and until you could finally get ones you could actually beat. You could actually get to the end of, like this X-Men or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And this was the first one that I really tried to get to the end of it. It was the game was expensive. We spent a lot of money getting through that game, but we finally conquered it, thankfully. So
I ran into a miracle situation. The dollar movie that we had in our area, there was a theater that showed dollar movies. That there were movies that came out, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months previously, but they're running this movie now that it's cycled out of all the theaters. It's between going out on video, and it's not freshly in theaters. It's not showing anywhere, but the cheap discount theater, right?
yeah, we had one in Willowick, yeah.
Yeah. So we got dropped off there at one time, and we went into the arcade. Well, they had the X-Men game loaded up that every single time you put 1 quarter in, it gave you 99 continues. It would max out your continues. So we just got to sit there and play the entire game.
That's cool.
It was really fun.
Yeah, that's great. What's the it changed names now. It used to be 8-bit or whatever out in Lakewood. 16-bit, 8-bit. Which one is it? It's a bar with it has all video games, and the video games are free to play.
Oh wow!
I would say that's 16-bit.
Yeah, it's gone now. It got consumed by another. It's still it's there. And it still has the video games, but it's called something else now. But the games were free. They don't have quarters. You just play, and they even has. I think they even have a sign on the rule, like their main rule. Fucking bug in here. the
Squirrel.
The rule was I'm like squirrel, but their rule just says don't be a dick. Like don't sit there and play it forever. Don't consume whatever. Or constantly take the game, but play. Make sure everybody has a chance to play, but they're free. You can go in and play them. So we used to go in there off hours and play Street Fighter. They had a larger Street Fighter game, one of the newer ones, and just smash on that for hours. It was great, and they have good beer too. They have what do you call it? Custom. I'm not really a fancy beer guy, but what's it?
IPAs or whatever.
No, micro brewed beers, the micro brew beer type stuff. So
fancy.
Yeah, fancy pinky out type stuff.
Yeah. fancy. So when even talking about games, you mentioned when we started about a painful game. We all were gym class where we had to play dodgeball. That was probably one of the most painful games as a kid. Just getting blasted by the dodgeball.
Oh.
So I always remember that. And then we also had the little scooters where you'd always run your fingers over each and every time. So those are games that I tend to remember from childhood.
Yeah, oh man, I'll tell you what. Running over your fingers on those things was awful.
Did
Yeah,
you guys play cricket ball?
They were
it's like crab. I think we called it like
the
crab.
Giant medicine.
Yeah.
No, the one with the giant medicine ball. You had to do like the crab walk. Crab ball, whatever.
And it had the little square scooters you sat on. You had to stay seated.
We didn't have ours, we had to walk around on our hands and legs. We didn't have
no. That's probably something else. But
sounds like you guys got gypped out of little rolly squares, which honestly, your game just sounds exhausting. Like you're just crab walking.
It was exhausting. Yeah, no card. And the medicine ball is huge. It's like this big
Yeah.
leather bound medicine ball. You had to kick it
I think
towards
we
the.
had the same game, but we got to destroy our fingers in the process.
Right, run
Oh
them
yeah,
over,
no, we just crab walked the whole time.
throwing the
That's
dodgeball.
funny. That's funny. As I actually really enjoyed dodgeball so much so that I was in a dodgeball league at the uh, Sky Zone. They have a trampoline dodgeball league.
Oh wow!
Oh,
It
no
was
kidding.
it was fun. You could come off the walls. It was great. I only did it for one season because it's a little far. It was out in Westlake, so I
Uh,
think it's Westlake, but it was a little far for me. So, but that was fun, just being able to jump off the
Yeah, that'd be a lot
bounce
of fun.
around, and I
right,
will
man.
say they got annihilated by a bunch of kids half my age, but
You can be our resident dodgeball expert because I'm with Wayne on this one. Honestly, like, look, I was an easy target as a kid, if you know what I mean.
No matter what, it always finds your face.
Yeah, it turns
It
out
never fails.
even when it's
You could
against the
duck, you could
rules,
jump, you could dive, it hits your face.
just gets a wicked turn, just homing.
Oh yeah, they're never straight. They're
Yeah.
who knows where the thing's going.
Oh my gosh.
Always had
dodge a
fun.
wrench, you can dodge a ball.
True, true. You know, you were talking about collecting classic consoles. Have you ever considered getting like a Retron? It's like a gaming system that will let you play all those systems all in one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've actually built some emulators and things like that as well. My buddy Mike has an amazing emulator setup. Also has a deck that has different kinds of controls on it, so you can play different kinds of games. He's got a great setup, but honestly, most of that would collect dust because I would game on it as for nostalgia once in a blue moon. That's why I just wanted the old systems. I more want them just for kind of decor and to whip them out at a party or have a bunch of nerds be like come over and turn it on and we laugh at it for 5 minutes and then and then that's it. I don't want to invest any real resource in it when my primary gaming is right here at the PC. So,
Yeah,
but I do love those things. They're enjoyable. I mean, we go over to my buddy JP's house, and the last time I was there, I think we spent an evening passing around Contra. It was just I would play it for a little while, or then I'd die and hand it off to somebody else. But we would it was Contra last time we did it, so it's kind of funny. Contra's another. I mean, obviously we all know the Contra code. I don't know if you guys know you guys know the Contra code, right?
I don't know it offhand, but I'm familiar with it.
I believe it's up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start, something like that. But it's the Contra code.
I always try to get the code for the blood in Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, the fatalities in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a weekend spent. That's what that
Sure was.
Just going online, looking up what all the different combos and printing it off, bringing it home. All right, I have to get this fatality with Liu Kang.
Yeah, Sega Genesis, you needed to have a code for just to have blood.
Oh yeah.
I liked a lot of the I was weird because I liked a lot of the knockoff games to the fighting games. What was the one with Cole and I'm not going to remember the name of it. It was another fighting game. Only one version of it that I can think of, but it was right around the same year that came out. Did you guys ever play Bushido Blade?
No.
Bushido Blade was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Sword fighting. Very it had a realism to it that other games didn't. If you got stabbed, if you got stabbed with a sword, you died. There's no hit point meter. That's it. So it's kind of just you're literally defending yourself, or you're on your offense. It's a fencing game,
Yeah.
and you use your sword, choose your person. They specialize in different weapons. I got good at like have a couple different characters that get that quick jab in and kill somebody immediately. But they did have a neat feature that in some situations you would get if you get tagged in the arm or leg, you would just lose the use of that limb.
Oh,
So
that's
you
cool.
gotta be like dragging his leg behind him or his arm. Yeah, the Bushido Blade games were really, really great.
Nice.
There's a lot of those games. That the game that I was trying to think of is so obscure. Apparently, it doesn't even show up here in my list of like popular games. Soul Calibur was a great one.
Oh
But,
yeah, Soul Calibur was good.
Oh yeah, I like Soul
yeah, I
Calibur.
really like. Yeah.
N64, I think
And
it was War Gods. I played that. It was a super knockoff fighting game, but I loved it. It was so fun. It's all the Egyptian
Nice.
gods.
That's kind of cool. I didn't play that. I would like to play that.
Um, so yeah, a lot of video games. But what about role playing games? Have either of you ever played an evil character in a role playing game?
I have not.
Well,
I-
do you mean a role playing game like a tabletop or
Yeah,
in a
tabletop.
video game?
Yeah,
Because I
like
kind of
D&D.
did a hybrid. I did kind of did a hybrid. So I played the original EverQuest a lot, more than I care to admit. And I played on Furiona V, which was their RP server. So we played fully in character. We spoke. The
Okay.
chat was fully in character. When we moved over to voice chat, we were in character. Man,
Yeah.
if you had to say anything outside of it, you literally had to be, like RL, comma, whatever divider you want to dash, and then say something there. Um, or out of character OOC. But we played it. It was one of my favorite things ever. We had a guild. And it was an all evil guild. We did not allow neutrals. We did not allow any goods at all.
No goody two
Which
shoes.
made no, but it made the game is unbalanced in a way that if you had an all evil guild, raiding was very hard. It was very difficult. You couldn't do some of the things because the classes weren't available.
Okay.
The classes were had factions, so it wasn't like you could just choose whether you were good or bad and play any class. You had the classes themselves. Some of them like you couldn't have paladins, you couldn't have rangers, you couldn't have all kinds of different things that were classified good. So we're just missing these classes, completely missing
Okay.
these classes,
So that
and
sounds like a real
it
challenge run playing through a game
it,
like
it
that.
was, and we had some pretty and the game has you can't just go and collect loot. They had special loot rules so that you couldn't get stuff and then go sell it or anything else. It was heavy duty different rules. So it was one server out of all the servers they had, only one did it, and we managed to pull off some pretty significant raids. I forget the first dragon. It's been so long since I played it that
Yeah.
I did it. But that was a pretty big success playing the evil characters when it was. I actually I didn't find the guild or found I wasn't a founder of the guild, but when there was two founders, they left. I led the guild after that, and then I led the guild for a significant amount of time, and then I retired, and someone else, a friend of mine's girlfriend at the time, she took over the guild from there. But fantastic role playing. That was some of my favorite role playing of all time. And I played an ogre, so I literally spoke like an ogre.
Yeah.
I texted it out. Everything was like phonetic. When I was typing, it was great. So yes, kind of.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, Wayne, I have an answer for this one, but Wayne, think about one of your favorite characters that you've played, and maybe share a little bit about that character. I played I've played two evil characters. Okay, the first one I played, probably my favorite acting as an evil character I've played. We were running a module. I jumped in mid campaign with a group, and they were running White Plume Mountain. My character, I played an assassin orc, and I decided, you know what, we're gonna be an evil character, and I'm gonna work. I worked with the DM, and I started scheming. I got a ever flowing, ever smoking bottle. I got a scroll of dimension door, and I got an obsidian steed. And these are just items that like were given as party treasure, and like, you know, there's gold, like all these like great like +1 weapons. And I'm like, you know what, I'll just take the bottle. That's fine. You know, I'm just amassing these items, right? We get to White Plume Mountain. We're fighting to get the artifact weapon Black Razor, right? And my character, it so we had retrieved the sword, and our cleric knew my character was not the nicest character, right? So he was like, all right, we got to keep this Black Razor, this evil sword, away from the evil guy. My character's entire motivation was to wield that sword and kill things. That's his whole motivation. And so there's this odds with the cleric, right? And we were in this big epic combat, big, huge battle, right? We're almost winning. The cleric goes down. And my character goes over there to heroically save our cleric. And while he's over his body, he does a sleight of hand to grab that sword out of his bag of holding. I pop the bottle, so the smoke just starts billowing. I use Dimension Door to go 500 feet away. And then I use the Obsidian Steed, which makes a nightmare that you can ride. That goes into the spectral realm or whatever, the ethereal realm. And so I pop that, I get on the horse, and I go, as the crow flies, straight direction for 24 hours, just riding this horse to get away from all of the party with this legendary artifact. They had no idea that was gonna happen. The cleric ended up, I don't think the cleric died, but oh man, they were pissed.
Sounds fun.
So that was my evil character. But what do you got for us, Wayne?
So we were playing a game of Call of Cthulhu, and it took us a couple years to get through. For years, you know, I played Top Secret, Dungeons and Dragons. We played some vampires, and it seemed like every character I was making was a Wayne character. And I'm like, you know, I need to get out of my element. So I made a 1920s female prostitute. And I named her Portia. And oh my gosh, I had so much fun playing her. Now, our buddy Scott is part of it. He played an intellectual bookworm, and but he was gentlemanly. So
he was out of character too, then.
Exactly. So she, you know, after a while, she latched onto him, and he diverted her advances the whole campaign. And it was just, it was awesome player because I was able to get out of my element. I was able to create a character that was not Wayne. So I mean, it was a blast to play. That being said, I had come up with the second character, and because so Portia never actually died. She outgrew the group in a way, maybe matured enough, so she left the group. And the second character I created as another Wayne type character in case the Portia thing just bombed. It didn't bomb. It was a blast. But so I go and I play this new character. I'm like, man, I'm not having as much fun.
Yeah.
Because like I've already played this character in a way. So yeah, Portia.
Portia, there you go.
It was a blast to play her.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that campaign had a lot of fun to it.
So did she have like any catchphrases, or did she what were some of her things?
She was always trying to
Should we give a rating for the show before we mention those things she did?
Well, the tennis ball tricks, I mean, you know.
Right, yeah. So she tried to be part of the group. The reason that she had joined the group basically because she needed money. And she got wind of this person who, hey, got lots of money, chance to make lots of money, join our group, let's go. So that's what she ended up doing. So she tried her best to be part of the group. And when she fell for Scott's character, she actually tried to be a good girl because there was a point in time where we completed a mission, and before the next mission, months went by.
Yeah.
So Portia went back to the States with Scott's character. He put her through school, college, and she tried to
what a
be the good
gentleman.
girl.
What a gentleman.
She tried to be the good
hilarious.
girl. In the end, she ended up using this rich man, getting more money, and doing what a
Yeah.
1920s prostitute does.
As you do.
Yeah. So then she comes back and joins the group some more, and it was a lot of fun.
Honestly, and look, I gender swapped characters are always fun, or at least sometimes hilarious to play. For one of Laura's campaigns that she ran, I played a 60-year-old smoking former go-go dancer. Her name was Candy Corn, and this is kind of how she talked. She's always smoking, so she's got a little bit of that lisp, that raspy voice. But we're in the Fey realm, and she gets turned into a drow elf. And her first question is, why am I black? But we're in the Fey realms, right? And so the whole thing is kind of like a fish out, like your characters are taken from the real world and go into a fantasy world, into the Fey realm. And so like we're in these enchanted special trees, and she's like over there lighting a cigarette up. Is it okay if I smoke in here? She's already like 2 puffs in. Oh,
that's funny.
Another thing is Scott, I don't think really like the idea of another man, even though we're playing characters, trying to sleep with him.
Fair enough. No, I would have hammed that one up.
Yeah, knowing Scott, I could just see him squirming uncomfortable.
And there were dice rolls that he failed, so the characters got to sleep with each other.
Oh, give Candy some sugar. Oh my gosh.
It's funny.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's fun to do. Because one of my most iconic characters for me is it was a wizard named Elphys. And it was really, that was my first introduction to Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, that was Warhammer.
Oh,
and I never played Warhammer before, so I was, going through the motions, trying to stick with the group, but at one point I picked up necromancy. But we had a very religious paladin with us. So it ended up not working too well. And so the religious paladin had to leave the group. Because it just wasn't going to work.
Hey, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard us talk about this character named Von Drake, but that was Scott's character through this Warhammer campaign, and he was a noble who he was noble. He was a rich noble, but really, when you miss dice rolls, you guys know when you miss dice rolls, anything can happen.
Yeah,
and it just made for an iconic character. And we talk about Von Drake
your whole
all the
campaign
time.
and save before you roll.
I'm sorry, what's that?
So you guys don't pause the whole campaign and save before you roll?
We let the dice roll.
I never do that either in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the difference between Baldur's Gate and D&D is you have a DM behind that screen. Unless they're a sociopath, if the party is getting destroyed, they're going to pull their punches maybe a little bit. I mean, hey, if a TPK happens, it happens, right? But Baldur's Gate, you don't have somebody behind the screen trying to tell a narrative story with everybody. So I get the save scum. Like, I get it.
But where did you find a DM that's not a sociopath?
I mean, they're all pretty bad, but I think the balance of being a good DM is making the players aware that they're in a very dangerous situation, or at least having them believe that about any possible scenario, so that they're cautious moving forward and they act like they would a little bit more realistically. But also on the flip side of that is also being a little bit forgiving as a DM and not throwing insurmountable odds against your players. unless there's some kind of out, you know?
Well, this
Yeah,
just
for
reminds
sure.
me, talking about Scott again. I mean, he's had some iconic characters in my playing career.
Yeah.
So we started a campaign, and we are only about halfway through it. So halfway is about 4 hours. He ended up falling into a room with multiple kobolds, being raped by all of them. And when he
Oh,
finally
God.
got free, we got chased by a giant. He got picked up and thrown and killed.
Oh my
All this
gosh.
within 4 hours.
Tough
And
times,
that,
man.
yeah.
Ouch.
So, yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah. Yikes. That's rough. It's because, like, speaking of like sociopath DMs, and my buddy, obviously not a sociopath, he's a good dude, but a friend of mine DM'd for when we were younger, and he would create things in all of his campaigns that would keep us in line because we're all asses. There's no two ways about it. So wherever any town we were in, didn't matter where we were in the entire realms, there was an inn called the Dead Ogre Inn. That was his. It was a staple. It was a franchise. It was
Okay.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and there was always a snotty owner who, and then there was an ogre that would work there, whether he was the owner or if he worked there as a bouncer, whatever. And anytime we were out of line, this damn near omnipotent ogre would would. It didn't matter what you rolled. That ogre was like he was a borderline god level thing. You just if you were out of line somehow, you ended up facing the ogre of the ogre that worked at that dead ogre inn or not.
It's like a level 20 retired fighter just working as a server for some reason.
Yeah, and he was a balance. Like anything, somebody doing something stupid, he's like, all right, this evening, you guys go over to the Dead Ogre Inn and so and so, and he'd be like Joe. He'd name the thing like Joe or Ted or whatever, and you didn't want Hugo. You didn't want this guy to be like mad at you. So there was some memorable moments in those two. Too funny. Yeah, I guess I'm really hoping. Like that's one thing the three of us. I mean, you guys have campaigned before together, right? Have you
Yeah.
guys campaigned before? So I just really hope to do that. I would love to get some kind of campaign going, and sometime I've never used a virtual campaign uh,
Oh,
platform like what is it D20 or
roll
whatever it's
20, yeah.
called,
That's what we
Roll
played
Twenty.
online.
Yep, roll 20.
Yeah,
Yep, roll 20.
yeah, I've never experienced that. It's always been in person. I've actually gone to some conventions and done uh, role playing. Like overnight type
Yeah.
games, which are fun, especially because you're in a group of strangers. Role playing, like actual, like really role playing, in where you're not just like speak. So there's different levels of role playing to me. There's role playing where you're telling somebody what your character's doing, and then there's role playing where you're playing your character. It's where you're assuming the character in there. So you have to kind of gauge the group to see who wants to do
Yeah.
that. But I've been in some of the ones where we're very immersive character, and we're speaking as our character, we're acting as our character, and the hardest problem that I have is sometimes these people are just a little bit more like they don't want everyone to stop. They're literally like in the same room for hours and hours and hours. It's like
Oh, yeah.
24 hours. And I don't mind that, but I'm like, we need to take a break, and a few of you need to go shower.
Fair.
like,
Fair.
it's just because I'm having a hard time staying. So I started role playing. My character would like role play that he was offended. He'd get offended by these other people not taking care of themselves. He just had to just do it right in character.
That's actually a pretty funny response.
Yeah.
What Laura used to do at Magic the Gathering tournaments to combat the smelly nerds is she'd bring perfume with her, and she'd spray them. We're walking by. Now you smell like daffodils, motherfucker.
Yeah, I just
Or unassuming Laura's just like, get that crack
that's
smell out of
hilarious.
here, boy.
That's right. That you
That's
stink.
hilarious.
You're stinky.
What kind of board games have you guys played and like?
Well, right now I'm playing. Oh no, it's gonna kill. Oathsworn. It's a it's a yeah it's a great game. The how to define it? It's kind of a app driven DM. Um, it's where you're playing through a campaign. You've got books that you could read, but you kind of would need someone to read that and kind of almost act as DM in a way where they
Yeah.
can still have a character, but they have an app that does it for you. So the app kind of guides the thing. You make decisions. You roll for like you roll against discovering something, or if something happens, it's a lot. It's all dice. It's a great game. It's fantastic. Some of the as we get into it, it's it's very complex. The targeting is odd. They have really weird targeting rules with line of sight. I'm not gonna get into them. There's no reason to break down the mechanics of it. But the um, we're actually right at the end. Our next we're meeting Sunday to finish up that campaign, and then I think we're going back to Chronicles of Drunagor, which is one of my favorite board games. My friend Jeff, well, this one actually my friend Matt bought, but my friend Jeff gets a lot of Kickstarter games. He'll do a lot of research and get games off of Kickstarter, and we're painting figurines and getting it all set up and stuff. And Chronicles of Drunagor is chef's kiss. I mean, it's a fantastic game. I enjoy the balance of it. I enjoy everything about it. So those are the two that we played. That and we just played through a Gloomhaven campaign too. Like to give you an example, a Gloomhaven campaign took us a year.
Yeah.
So meeting once a week, it took us a year.
Yep.
Um,
Those are those cool little like board game / campaign hybrid things. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Gloomhaven myself. I do own it, and there was a couple that we went through and did a couple, campaigns, quick campaigns, but they ended up, it wasn't their cup of tea, and so now it's like kind of sat and gathered dust now. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
One thing I wish that we had with those type of games is I wish they're usually like 4-player games.
Right.
And because I would love to involve more people, but I understand why they don't, because the downtime, turn-based downtime would suck. If you have your turn and then you're waiting for 5 other people, 6 other people to take a turn, it's going to get real slow.
Yep.
That's one thing I did like about Oathsworn, you can play at one variant of playstyle is you can play as an open turn style, where all of us are playing our turns at once. So we can kind of openly discuss, well, I'm going to move here and do this, while this guy can do this, and okay, then I'll add this. So you can have, you can kind of do like compound angles on things where you don't have to isolate it to your turn. That's an interesting component, but even then, once you're done, if other people are doing things, you're just sitting there, and that's the one downside to turn-based games like that in real life. So you have to limit it to like 4 players, or else it's going to get real old real fast.
And you even have that with D&D too, right? You have those kind of situations where it's turn by turn, and it's, one thing I've done to combat that, it's kind of what you're talking about, is you have like an A team and a B team. A team goes together. Both those players, they take their turn at the same time. They can shout out their actions and figure out who wants to talk at what time and do what at what time. But, you have a minute to strategize and then tell me what you are doing. And the next group needs to be thinking about what they're going to do after the bad guy goes. So, systems like that seem to work pretty well.
Yeah. I would just like to have a game because like Wayne says, he has Gloomhaven. And he enjoyed it, but others didn't. It'd be nice to bring him in, but we have a squad of guys already. Yeah. So it's, so it'd be, but it's, so we're trying to balance all that out.
Cool.
But
there's always
I do a lot of board games.
Have you ever played the games? Oh, go ahead, Wayne. I
was saying the quick game of Sorry. I always loved playing Sorry.
Nothing wrong with Sorry.
Yep. I was playing what is it? Jenga the other weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. Some good old classic games. We were playing Liar's Dice too. That game's fun. All that stuff.
Yeah, I just can't play Monopoly anymore. It just takes too long. I guess. I mean, there's other games that I don't mind that take 3-4 hours, but Monopoly just seems like it
drags
stalls.
At the end.
Yeah, it drags, stalls.
Because Monopoly's in like a lion out like a lamb. That's why it's fun at the beginning. Everybody's scrambling to do things, and after that, it's a waiting game. You're just waiting for certain things to happen. The game ramps down instead of up, which makes it painful.
You get to a point where you're just praying that somebody flips the freaking board.
Oh, we're done.
Yep. Oh,
we always have a house rule. Two of us are left, and I'm like, all right, we're splitting the wealth. Here you go. This is your half of the board, my half of the board. Go away. But like Risk, you guys ever play Risk?
Oh yeah, I love Risk.
Yeah, and so one of these times when I was a kid, my uncle, my sister, and myself, my two uncles, my sister, and myself, we made a board game. It's called System Siege, and it's very much like an interstellar version of Risk but it's vastly different. But it has a similar dynamic when it comes to dice rolling and battle. It's a fantastic game. As a matter of fact, he's had it fully produced. He has 3 fully produced copies, pieces, professional board, the whole thing. And we've played it. I'm a member of a writers group that also does gaming stuff on the side. And we've just couple months ago, we just played through one of the games. It's really fun. So one of these days we'll have to get together and play a game of System Siege. If you guys like that kind of game, it's fun.
Cool.
I remember a fun story. My dad was very against video games growing up. But there was one time I'd come home from wherever I was. He's sitting in my room playing on my Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis had Risk. So he'd play a game of Risk, just sitting in my room playing my game like, oh, I thought you didn't like video games, Dad.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
He loved that Sega Genesis Risk.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow. I've never played digital Risk in any way. I've only ever played a board game.
Shouldn't be fun.
So, I mean, me too. I just didn't.
I want to share this game that I've had behind me. You have iconic characters in this game. Like you have the character John Locke. Okay.
Oh, Lost.
Yeah.
I lost the game.
You have Hurley. You have Hurley from that show Lost.
Hurley's one of my favorite. Oh, it's Lost. Oh, I see.
Lost the game. I lost the game.
I lost the game.
No, but seriously, I've been playing. I haven't been playing. I've wanted to play. John, if you've heard of this one, or Wayne, Scythe.
I've heard of it. No. I've played it before.
It is.
Yes, I have played it before.
It is the most in-depth, rules-dense game. I spent an afternoon trying to figure out how to play it with a friend. You can play one test game of the game and get through an entire game and still not be sure how to play Scythe.
Yes. Yes.
I need somebody who's very patient to sit there and show me this game like I'm a toddler. And I say that being somebody, I've judged Magic the Gathering tournaments in the past, but this game is it's so much. There's so many different win conditions. There's so much stuff going on.
That gets to be a bit much, though.
Yeah, it's like
I enjoy it to a degree, but
it's like Catan meets SimCity meets Ticket to Ride meets, I don't know. There's like mech tokens too in that game. It's ridiculous.
Mike. Mike. He's the board game guru, and really, if I can't figure something out, I go to him, and he's so good at just figuring out whatever game it is. He just reads the instructions or watches a 20-minute YouTube video, and all of a sudden he's an expert on the game. Like, how do you do that?
That's amazing.
But it's funny because Mike likes that. Yeah. But Jeff is usually the one who because he gets the games, he wants to be able to play them with us. He bought them. He wants to be able to play them. So he takes on the job of learning them most of the time, but he hates it. He does a great job. He doesn't think he does a good job. He does a fantastic job. Like and so much so that we kind of it's gotten to the point where we almost like lean on him a little bit too much for it. But because he's usually the guru,
Yeah.
and it's just
He knows.
it's
He
kind
knows
of
things.
funny, but he does. I've actually been debating picking up. Have you guys seen Pericle? The game Pericle, Pericle.
No.
It's another one of those. It's another one that you can have a DM or the uh an app-based one. I think I've been thinking about picking that one up and learning it and taking it to game night so that I can actually take the burden off of Jeff a little bit. So luckily, the ones we have coming up, the next Chronicles of Drunagor, and then we're going to do. I think we're going to do Frosthaven after that. At least
I've
those
heard
we
good
are.
things about Frosthaven.
Yeah, we're already. It's the Gloomhaven sequel. We played through John. What's the fan made one? Crimson Scales. We played through that. I know I won't win a lot of fans, but I'm kind of thumbs down on it. That I just didn't like it. I liked the original Gloomhaven. I didn't like Crimson Scales, but we're gonna do Frosthaven. At least with those games, we already have the knowledge. We're all pretty efficient and proficient at the those games, so that'll take some of the burden off of him too. So.
Any new releases, guys? Any new video games that you guys picked up? Any 2024 releases? I have a couple notable 2024 releases. If you guys want to go through those,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
for it.
Go ahead.
all right. So, some notable releases: The Casting of Frank Stone, a
I have that.
survival game produced by Behavior Studios, the creators of Dead by Daylight.
Have you played it yet?
I've not played it yet, but I want to.
I've made it about three or four chapters, I guess we'd call them. But then I haven't played it in a while. I haven't played it since I think November. But it was fun. It was a very good idea, a nice idea.
Nice.
I'll have to check that one out because I am not familiar with that. So it's a Steam game?
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yep.
Dead by Daylight was really advertising that for maybe a good portion of a year.
Yeah, they were.
And so as soon as it came out, I got it and I played it, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with Dead by Daylight whatsoever, but it was one they were promoting, and I was like, this is a good game.
Yeah, I think they use the same engine that they created Dead
Right.
by Daylight with, so it's got a similar feel, right? But it's a different storyline, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Another one that came
Does
out
Dead by
was
Daylight have an ultimate ending? Is it a game you can play through, or because when I've watched it, I haven't played the game much, and does it have a story playthrough, or is it just
Dead by Daylight?
yeah?
Are you
Yeah.
talking about no,
Dead by
not at all.
Daylight has tons of lore with all the characters, but the idea is your characters have been sucked into the fog by the entity, which, I mean, some people compare the entity to Stephen King's It, like some kind of spider-like creature that drags people into
Yep.
a dark shadow realm type thing. But you're four survivors trying to repair these generators to power an exit gate so you can get out of there. But they grab from all these different horror franchises and all these different characters. They have a lot of unique characters they've made, and they give everybody different backstories. The poor women killers in Dead by Daylight, they all have these tragic backstories.
They sure do.
They're so sad. You feel bad for them until they release the Skull Merchant, which may she die a horrible death. May she rot in hell forever. The Skull Merchant, my God, what an awful killer that ruined that game for 3 months.
Mhm. That is very accurate too.
Sorry for the side
The reason I
tangent
asked
there,
that is because
but- yeah.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, Dead
But
by
I'd ask
Daylight's...
that because it looks like the casting of Frank Stone has a storyline. That's why I'd ask that.
That one does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
cool.
It's definitely and I know they can tell decent stories because the characters all have really good backstories. I think for Dead by Daylight, they're all pretty compelling, pretty cool characters. But this week they're doing 2v8 again. It's kind of Resident Evil themed, so that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
It's fun.
2024 games other than well, Baldur's Gate obviously, but we've kind of, I think everybody knows that. But my favorite was probably Enshrouded.
Shrouded.
Enshrouded was just a fantastic game. You have to love base building, strategy or survival. I know that's not everybody's forte, but I'm a big Ark guy and stuff like that. And
Oh yeah.
I don't think anybody, like Valheim, all these other games, they did it really well, but I don't think anybody's done it to the level of Enshrouded. Enshrouded is the closest thing to being a story-driven survival game that your ability to build is insane. I mean, to alter your environment. I mean, you can dig, you can alter anything in the environment in any way. You know, it's astounding. They aspire to be to the level of building of like a Minecraft with a graphic that's gorgeous. Because that's the reason. I'm never going to be a Minecraft guy. I'm a graphics whore. I can't stand it, and I don't care what kind of filters you put on a block. It's a block. So sorry, I don't want to go off on the tangent. I can't do it. I can't do block vids.
Have you played 7 Days to Die?
What's that? Oh yeah,
played 7 Days to Die. What do you think about that? Is that still a block game?
It's nowhere near. 7 Days to Die is fairly graphically decent looking.
Yeah. The official release.
There's a big difference between
good.
Minecraft and 7 Days to Die.
fair. But 7 Days to Die, ultimately, it's just blocks. It's just very high quality blocks.
Well, so is, I mean, every video game is pixels, which end up being it's square. Everything is, but it's just the way the shaders and your aliasing, anti-aliasing, etc. But because even in Enshrouded, when you're building, you can take things down to a block, and you can have a block. But when you place the block, it blends to the block next to it. So if you're building a stone wall, it isn't just
it doesn't have weird
4x4 square
problems between the squares.
Yeah, it blends to the next one. It depending on what kind of wall you're doing, it might be that it might connect on. The last one had some vines growing through it. That when you put the next block, the vines will continue to go through it. Matter of fact, it's so fine tuned that sometimes if you don't place a block right, it'll mess up a pattern in a corner, and you have to go figure out where the hell you placed a block wrong if you're building to that level. So you can build things by the block, just like Minecraft, if you would care to do it. There's nothing stopping you.
Nice.
But but when you build, you've got a really nice looking graphic rather than that. But that would be my favorite thing in 2024 outside of Baldur's Gate. And they're two different worlds.
Yeah.
Two different kinds of games.
Piggybacking on. Go ahead, Mike.
I picked up Indiana Jones. It came out in November, and that's been a fun game. The graphics are amazing on it.
What's it play like? What's the what type of game is it?
So it's definitely exploration. It is an open world, but there's a mission driven. So it guides you where you need to go. But just a gameplay. He's got a whip. And he's got different other things he can grab in. There's even one where there's a fly swatter, so you can attack people with a fly swatter. So I still haven't made it too far through the game, but I am enjoying it.
Do they play through the movies, or is it just an open world?
So they start off with the first Indiana Jones, but it's supposed to take place between the two movies.
Oh, okay.
So it's not actually, other than like the beginning of the first part of the game, kind of goes after the first movie, but then it veers off, and it does take place in between two movies. So it's a whole new gameplay.
That's awesome.
A whole new story arc.
Nice. I know that's produced by Bethesda. Does it play like a Bethesda game?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Okay. I was just curious. So,
yeah.
I enjoy Bethesda, the Bethesda model base.
I agree.
Fallout, Skyrim, stuff like that. So that sounds enjoyable.
Nice.
So,
notable release on one I liked a lot. 2024 was Nightingale. Kind of piggybacking on the survival crafting games. Unfortunately, the game released with very mild reception from the gaming audience. So I don't know how long they're going to keep their servers on, but Nightingale was really, some really fun game to play.
Good job.
Yeah, I enjoyed Nightingale. I have it. I've built a character. Yeah, I've a thing in there. It Enshrouded and Nightingale were like this for me
Fair.
when it came to when it was time to choose one, and I just chose to go the Enshrouded route.
Yeah.
The Enshrouded was a little more polished.
Okay. Yeah,
Nightingale
that's
still needs
fair.
some more, which early access games. I mean, but I love steampunk.
Yeah.
I love steampunk things, and there's not to me it's very rare for somebody to do steampunk right, and it looked like they were doing it right. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they still get there, because that's a game that is a must play for me at some point in time. I really feel the need to play that game.
The
Have you played the Cyberpunk game?
No, I have not played Cyberpunk.
Neither have I. I've been waiting for somebody else to play it to tell me if it's good or not before I even picked it up.
The one thing I was going to touch on with the Nightingale is the thing that puts Nightingale over a game like Enshrouded to me, I think, is the crafting system. They make it so in depth. You can use different components, and based on the components you use to build the item, it'll give it different stats. So you can get super specific in like farming the exact item that you want and the exact build you can make. It's really fun to kind of make different outfits to handle different challenges in different worlds. So
yeah, I kind of read that where Enshrouded environmentally was superior building, crafting your gear, etc. Because the gear crafting in Enshrouded is fairly linear, and it's not as it's linear. There's no two ways about it. You have a linear progression of gear depending on your class and how you want to play your character. But the world building is unbelievable. So that's I've heard that about Nightingale. It's a much different. That's their strength. Their strength leans into the actual item crafting and doing that. So yeah, I look forward to the game. It's one of those ones on my list, because those kind of games I always make my own. I always host a server on G Portal and get a few people, because I was like having the individual server, and you can tweak things, because some of these games like Ark, it's designed you have 40 people be able to get in and spend a week trying to tame a T-Rex. I don't have that kind of time sync, so I'm gonna make my own server. I'm gonna adjust it. It's always challenging, because you gotta remember you're changing a game from a 40-person guild or tribe into a 4-person tribe. So you really have to modify it. So I have certain builds. I actually catalog and map out my builds so that I can tell people this is exactly what's going to happen when you join the server, so they know what to expect. Because I want things to be challenging. Like, for instance, a lot of people are really upset that I do the loot loss. If you die, your stuff's still on your body. I'm an old school EverQuest guy. I've done 15-hour corpse runs where I'm paying a necromancer or a rogue to drag or summon my body out of the bottom of a dungeon. So I want other people to experience that pain. So when it's a need. So, but so I won't turn that off. I won't do I don't like no penalty death in games. It drives me nuts. You might then you just zerg everything. You just zerg it. You're just run and die until everything's dead. I can't. It's so cheap. There's no strategy. There's no tactics. I mean, that's what happened that's why I got rid of Warcraft outside of time and stuff like that. I got rid of it because I got so tired of where was crowd control. I used to be an ice mage. I used to lock this guy down, blow this guy up, polymorph this dude. It was great. It was fantastic. And you had to be careful you're not breaking this. The balance, the tactics were great. And now it's just run in and blow shit up, and that's just go play Call of Duty.
At that point. Sounds like sounds a little Helldivers, another release in 2024. It's it's like Starship Troopers, but it's like a PvE FPS. Like you're just fighting. You're either fighting Terminators or you're fighting bug monsters, and it's got this whole satire thing. Like your training regiment, like they like show you how to pull the trigger on the gun. They're like, all right, go get the insect threat, boy. And you're just going into this meat grinder. So yeah, Helldivers. I've heard so many good things about that game. So that's one on my list to touch base.
Have you
on.
played it, Wayne?
No, I haven't.
No.
It is a game
So
that was
I
a friend of mine told me I should play it and that I would like it. No, but no, I've never played it.
like you should play it. I think you will enjoy it quite a bit. Um, just knowing our play styles. Me personally, I really love the idea of it. I'm a huge Starship Troopers fan. I like the campy movies. I love the
Yeah.
campy things. Even though it's, so I'm also a big fan of the Starship Troopers, the book that the movies were based on. It's a book by Robert A. Heinlein. It's an amazing book. What they did with it with the movie was a little more. The book wasn't comedic at all. It didn't have that. It didn't have that comedic quality to it. The book was meant to be serious. But again, I don't mind when they get away from it. It's it is what it is. I enjoyed the two as two separate entities in a way. Anyway, tangent there. But the game gets a little bit repetitive. You're just doing missions, and each mission are fairly similar. It's fun, the combat when you're just using these crazy weapons that chop down waves of insects coming at you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. You can call down strikes from the satellites. You don't ever want to play with my buddy Tom because he will do that right on top of your ass, and you gotta. We actually referred to him as the third faction. It was robots, insects, and Tommy. But because the friendly fire is just on. It's especially with the calling down strikes.
Yeah,
But
that's part of the fun, though, right? It's like
yeah,
it's not meant to be played super serious. I don't think.
yeah. So I'm kind of waiting for it to grow up a little bit to where it has more factions, a little bit more like it. I don't feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over. It just gets old to me. And they're not different. The missions are not different enough. But I think the game's going to grow into it. It's got such a fan base; it would be foolish not to. So I'm kind of like holding off again until it does that. And I hate the map. He pulled the map. I hate the map. The map's garbage, but that's all fixable stuff.
We talked a little bit about Starship Troopers. I'm going to get really obscure here for a second, but did you play the Starship Troopers game that was released in the 90s? That was a real-time strategy game for the PC.
Yes, where you had to where your characters had to trail behind them wherever they would go, right?
Yeah.
That I haven't thought about that game because it was almost like a I need to look up the game because I have not seen that game in so long. Because it was
but they played you right through the books, like the maps and the campaign. I think it was based off the books.
Well, there's only one book.
Yeah, well,
Starship Troopers was a singular book, but and it was small, so the book was very. It's a great book. I strongly suggest the book, but God, I haven't thought about that game in a long time because it was very XCOM-ish.
Yeah, it was.
It had that same vibe, man. I'm a big XCOM guy.
Kind of like Command and Conquer and that stuff.
Yeah, because the original XCOMs were that old too. The old school XCOM, the original before recent ones. But I almost want to go back and play that game. I haven't played it in so long. You know what it had a feel of? It had a feeling of like StarCraft.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. That's kind of what the vibe was like. Yeah.
Yep.
God, I haven't thought about that game in a minute. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Stuff.
Trip down memory lane and gaming in general, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's hard not to just constantly talk about games that we've enjoyed and played.
One game I'm looking forward to for 2025 is Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait for that game to come out.
it's gonna be so
And then
good.
the Switch 2 is supposed to come out this year. Boy, lots of gaming coming out this year.
Good news for
Yeah.
gamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to I haven't seen a lot on the Wolverine game. Can you talk about it, Wayne? Like what's all it got?
Not really, because it pops up on my Facebook feed every once in a while. It's got great art, but I don't think it's art from. I think it's just people getting excited for the game. They just keep putting out this art. They put out a trailer, maybe about a minute trailer last year or the year before, and it's just him, kind of like the Wolverine Origins movie, how it starts out with him in a bar, and then Sabretooth coming in, and then a fight ensues. That's kind of the trailer that they put together. But as far as gameplay, I've heard it's open world, and it's Wolverine. I'm excited.
There you go.
Open world Wolverine game. That's interesting.
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. That's any kind of superhero based open world. That the one Avengers Lego game, the open world one.
Yeah.
Why aren't all Lego games now open world? Because that game was phenomenal. It was great. It was just unbelievably good to be able just to go and do these little random things. Walk into this shop. This is happening there for this with this villain. I loved that kind of thing. Sorry to go there, but
Yeah. So
interesting.
yeah, I'm really excited. It's PS5 exclusive, so I need to save my pennies to get a PS5.
Need a PS5 too.
But you know what?
I'm gonna wait for a year.
Spider-Man was PlayStation exclusive at one point. Now it's part of Steam.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they'll do the same with Wolverine over eventually.
Typically, they do. It's just usually a year.
Yeah.
So, because that's how I do the Final Fantasies now. I played the Final Fantasy VII remake. I should be more specific. I'm really enjoying those. But I got a hold of an older PS4 from a friend and played the first one, and I'm just waiting, just waiting.
Yep.
There's just no value in it to me. There's no value in investing that much money into a console system outside of Nintendo's. The Nintendo system it's a different kind of gaming. It's a lighter, airier, type of thing with that type of thing. But speaking of which, that actually reminds me of Unicorn Overlord came out in 2024, and that's an amazing game if you like strategy, building units kind of thing. The combat system, you actually don't control the combat. You're setting up turns, like what your character's going to do on its first turn versus second turn. You're building units to counter other different kinds of things. Very strategic game. Can't recommend that game enough. It's unbelievable. Terrible name. Fantastic game.
No, awesome name. What are you kidding me? Unicorn Overlord?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it tells you nothing about like the game. This does not sound like it doesn't pertain to the game. There's no.
Sounds pretty
you know
epic to me. I don't know.
I have this vision of this badass unicorn playing through the game, and if that's what the game was, then I would love the name. But that's not what the game is.
So I think my wife is going to be disappointed to hear that you don't get to play as a unicorn that's running around as an overlord. So that is sad.
Right.
It's a sad feature.
I love the name Unicorn Overlord. I don't like the name Unicorn Overlord for that game. Let's be more. I'll be more specific there.
It's like
amazing game. It's actually by this. Go ahead.
It's like liking the Resident Evil movies. You can like the Resident Evil movies. You just don't like that they're Resident Evil. They're considered Resident Evil. It's like,
yeah,
okay, no, yeah.
Yeah, if you like those type of games, and you've got a Switch, then I cannot emphasize enough how good Unicorn Overlord is. You will spend hours just making units and organizing them and figuring out how you're going to take on certain battles, because your opponent has the same thing. So you see, if you've got a anti-flyer unit and you've got an anti-cavalry unit, you have to look and see what these other units are, and they travel at different speeds. So if your cavalry unit intersects your flying unit, that's a bad mix. So you got to be careful and protect them. And it's a great game. I could talk too much about it. It's a great game.
Nice.
So yeah,
Right,
2024
guys.
was a pretty good year for games.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. This was a good topic for us.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you know what, we could keep this going for weeks. But
Really, we could.
you know, maybe we'll get a little more focused next week. But you know, hey,
That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think this is we should maybe we'll do a periodic gaming episode. You know, I'll make this the gaming episode 1 of gaming episode 2 next time.
and nerds, let us know in the comments what you want to hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're still figuring this out, so you let us know what you like too. This is a dynamic growth thing, so let us know.
Yeah,
Gosh,
might
if
even
you've
be
made it this
comics.
far, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, nerds.
Yeah. All right, guys. I guess we're gonna
All right.
call it off there. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you guys. See you, nerds.
Night.